Staff Sergeant Perez, Miguel, middle initial is A. Stationed here in Belaram 2, Afghanistan. The assistant radio chief of RCT-2 and also the platoon sergeant. And been in the Marine Corps 12 years as of August 26th, so a little over 12 years now. I went to boot camp Parris Island, South Carolina, 1998.
What month?
August. It's
What
hot.
battalion?
Hometown's Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, okay.
That morning at 06, we were just finishing up what used to be Combined Arms Exercise 29 Palms, California, the Mojave Desert. Now it's Mojave Viper. But we were finishing up a CAX that morning and flying back. 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marine Division was flying back to the East Coast, and we actually made it to the runway, but due to what happened that morning, we were stuck on an Air Force base, an abandoned Air Force base, where they just used a landing strip to fly Marines in and out of that training area. About 700 Marines ended up sleeping in this like deserted barracks. We set up 360-degree security on the 747, and we had stewardess and pilots that were pretty much sleeping in the barracks with us because there was no accommodations for them either. So it's a pretty interesting morning. Well, there was a lounge that had an old TV in there, and we were able to catch the news. And there was there was some Marines who had cell phones, and they were receiving all types of email traffic on their cell phones, stating what had happened. At that point, only one of the planes had hit the towers. So there was maybe a 10-minute window between that first and second plane. And then, me being from New York, my whole thing, having family members who worked in the city and worked in that area, I wanted to make sure they were all right. So I started calling different friends and relatives that I knew worked in the city, and just to make sure they were all right. My wife was actually nervous because I had no way of getting a hold of her, and she knew that I was on a plane that morning. She knew I was coming back home that morning, but she just didn't know which plane. And then, aside from what happened in New York, you had, the D.C. area had, a plane crashing into the Pentagon, and then, there was another plane that was hijacked. And then, being a corporal Marines, it was to take care of my junior Marines and make sure that they were all taken care of, and make sure that they were able to get in contact with their loved ones, because there was a lot of Marines from the area, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. So pretty interesting day. This is my third combat deployment, 2 of which were in Iraq, and then after my second deployment to Iraq, I actually crossed deck after 2 months to come out here and make this deployment with RCT-2. So it's been upon completion of this deployment, it'll be 19 out of the last 24 months, overseas in the combat zone. Lost a ton of friends. I was a drill instructor on Parris Island, and I had some friends that got done on their duty down there and went back to the Fleet Marine Force, and I probably lost about 4 other staff NCOs that I've known, that I've actually interacted with their families and with my family. So it's actually hit close to home. And then here recently we lost one of our own staff NCOs, Staff Sergeant Bartlett, and I was actually up there at Fob Jackson a week after he was hit by an IED. So when I got there, it was kind of crazy because his birthday was a couple days before his accident took place. I wouldn't call it an accident, but before he got hit with that IED, they celebrated his birthday up there, and the HABs that they have out there, which are the small tents that they're living in, there was no availability other than his rack. So there was like birthday cards hung up on the walls, and there was like streamers that some of the British Marines had gave him and celebrated his birthday prior to that patrol he went on and actually died on. So it kind of drove the bolt home even that much more, occupying his rack, and then, being there within the first 10 hours, getting into a 4-hour firefight, it kind of put everything in perspective even that much more for me. So man, it's just, I think it overall brought out the best and the brightest of our nation, because I think you have more people willing to stand up, not for the prestige of being a Marine, but more so for the fact that they were American, and that it hit so close to home. You know, a lot of times in our illustrious history of war fighting, we always take the fight to the enemy. So a lot of this, a lot of the American public is never really exposed to tragedy like that. And I think for the tragedy that took place and that magnitude and that scale of the devastation, I think it opened up a lot of eyes, and we had a lot of young men willing to stand up and really, you know, support and defend the Constitution. And I see it every day in the Marines that I lead out here, and I see it every day when I shoot these Marines out on quick reaction forces, contact teams, and they're so prepared mentally, and they're so prepared physically that they've been nothing short of fantastic. And here we are 8 months into this deployment, and they're still operating at 100%, and they're maintaining that good SA whenever they move around the battle space, and it's just a great feeling. I think 9/11 again, you know, nobody ever forget what happened that day. And I tell you, I enjoyed being a drill instructor, but that wasn't the highlight of my career. You know, a lot of people say, man, I tried to join the Marines and, you know, I never quite made it. But I've had the opportunity to not only become a Marine, but make Marines. And even making Marines, that wasn't nearly enough, and it didn't touch me as much as being able to load a platoon full of Marines onto a 747, watching them kiss their loved ones goodbye, and then taking them to combat. I think that has been one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life, and I'll never forget. You know, even 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, you know, even with Alzheimer's disease, I'll never forget the faces and the Marines that I served with and that served under me in some of the most harsh conditions. Just want to say, honey, I miss you. I'll be home soon for R&R. It's only 2 weeks, but it's better than nothing. I'll be home, see all the kids, and visit some family, and I look forward to finally getting back for good, getting some good downtime, and really getting back to getting snapped in around the house. Take care.